Great. Been so busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, busy with what? Because I feel like you're always doing 8 million things.
I know, right? The story of my life. I'm like a professional procrastinator. I feel like just constantly circling through projects.
I like professional procrastinator because, yeah, I relate strongly to that phrase. I feel like a lot of creatives relate to that phrase.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, at least if you have like 10 projects at the same time, then you can always just like go back and just keep circling over and, eventually they'll get finished.
Finishing, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I would say like a good 5%. Me and my manager actually have a funny inside joke where you thrive in the 5. Like you come up with a million ideas, and as long as 5% of them work out, that's a pretty good ratio. Just constantly throw crazy things at the wall, see what happens.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Fuck around, find out.
What is it today, or what's it been lately that's keeping you busy?
So lately I've decided to, I'm doing like the normal things, right? I'm dropping music, I'm touring on the music, and all of it's kind of coming to a point right now. Like literally tomorrow is when my tour starts and when my last song on my EP drops.
Right.
And being my own label head, I have just, have all the hats, all of the digital assets, all of the audio assets, all of the videos, all of the clearances. And then also at the same time, like trying to sell tickets, which like, it's hard out here for a DJ girl trying to sell hard tickets.
You're right. Yeah.
We really got to push it. So, every day it's just like make something. But also I'm in like a crazy producer flow right now. Like, I feel like when I started producing, I was, I was like making songs a lot with a lot of people because I was still learning a lot in the very beginning. And then for some reason I was like, you know what? My true calling right now is like indie music. So I fully went down like a songwriting path and like really wanted to explore that.
I remember
and then post COVID now I'm like, okay, I did that. That was like fulfilling. That was really, really hard. And now this feels so much easier. And it's just so much easier for me to like crank things out and come up with ideas without overthinking it or like, taking myself too seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because sometimes you're right. I think you have to sort of leave the main thing for a while and do the side quest or whatever it is. Not that the indie thing was a side quest for you, but you know what I mean. And it's then you go back and somehow it's not like you spent the off time, being lazy or not doing anything, but it's weird when you sometimes just leave something and come back to it. It's like your brain kind of did the work in the background without you realizing it,
Oh, 100%. That's like how anything works, right? It's like learning an instrument, playing guitar, like learning how to do anything. That's just like for me, like what I resonate with the most. Cause like I'll be playing my guitar for hours and I'm like, oh, I'm getting worse. And then I'll stop and then I'll come back to it and I'll be so good. I'm like, dang, how did I do that? I thought I was really bad the last time I played, but it actually like, it's super helpful. Yeah. It was really fulfilling though, to do all of that. I think it was kind of I feel like every DJ at some point in their career, some earlier than later, comes to like some existential crisis moment when they're like, I'm more than a DJ. Like I'm more than like what this whole thing is. Like there's got to be more, right? Because like, you never fucking make it. You're always like trying to see what the next step is and evolve. So that was probably one of the biggest risks I took. But also my whole life has just been a risk. So I'm just going with the wind. I'm making it up.
In general, like because music has been your whole life.
Yeah. Even just from the beginning, when I told my mom I was dropping out of college to be a DJ at the Sheraton, like that's that's a risk and a half.
Yeah. Moms
moving to LA with no money. That was a risk,
For sure. Yeah. I guess this is sort of leading into like the bigger questions, but like, how are you able to be that person? Because not everybody is that person. Not everybody can take or wants to take, all the risks and wants to, really push it like that. Like, where does that come from?
I think I've always been like that. Maybe that's a thing that people are just born with. I think it even in like my personality as a little kid, like my imagination was huge. Like the only thing I would ever play would be like role playing me as like a superstar, like as like some character, like building. I would play with chalk and I would build my entire floor plan for like my future house. Like I've always just been very much I don't know. I guess like I didn't really come from that much, and I was mostly an only child until I was 8. Because like, you know, and when your siblings are that young, you're just like, you're basically an only child. So I had to get really creative and like keep myself entertained. And I feel like that was like kind of a
are you the older or the younger sibling?
I'm an older.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, my mom is 18 years older than me, so we were both babies at the same time growing up.
Wow. Wow, that too probably plays into it a bit, right? If your mom is super young, and I'm sure that comes with, you know, a ton of stresses and issues of its own. But I also feel like, you know, the younger we are, the closer we are to like the playful version of ourselves, you know?
No,
like I
100%.
wonder if any of that came into play with like you having a young mom and being young yourself.
Yeah, no, because you know, when I was being raised as a little one, we were constantly like taking risks and moving, and my mom was still figuring it all out. So I kind of got to like witness her and like watch her take like these really big steps in her life, and like I guess for some reason it didn't ever seem like change was never a scary thing for me. Change was actually like something that I just anticipated and I kind of liked. And now when I don't have change and I become stagnant in anything, even if I'm like super successful and at the top of my career, like you still get those like, you know, anxious feelings of like, okay, I need to do more. I need to change. I need to try something new. I don't want to like become stuck in one place.
Are you still living with Gigi?
I am. I'm in our studio right now.
Nice.
We got a house together in the valley, and it's so nice. I don't know how I stayed downtown for like 8 years. Like, that's crazy.
I feel like everybody in LA has that moment, because there was a time, probably around the same time you moved to LA, where everyone just congregated downtown.
And we all lived on the same street, basically.
Yeah, yeah. There was there was the compound building, and there was like a couple other buildings that everybody lived in.
Yeah, that was good times. And then slowly everyone moved away.
Exactly, because that's the thing. It's like it's awesome and romantic to kind of, you know, rough it with your friends and your peers and all that, and build a little community in a place where it felt like, yeah, no one else is here. You know, we're like blazing the trail. But then at a certain point, I feel like everybody is just like, oh, well, you know, it'd be nice to, you know, have a little yard. Be nice.
I know. I think that just comes with age, right? I'm like, you know, it's cool. Like, we can all move out. We'll let like the new young LA kids like take over that spot.
Yeah. Do you think is downtown still popping like that? Is there still like a young artist community there? Because I don't live in LA, so I'm a little disconnected.
I don't, as far as like the arts district goes, I feel like that got pretty gentrified fast. Like, it's like, it's like, I mean, it's beautiful. It's really, really nice. And I do love the area. But I would say that the underground young rave culture in downtown is bigger than I have ever seen it. And maybe that's because when I first came to LA, I started touring really fast. So like realistically, I wasn't actually hanging out in LA that much. But I don't know. I see it right now, and there's like so many underground parties that happen every single day between like Brownies and Lemonade and Lick and Dip and Malfunction and Underwear, and like just over and over and over again. And these parties are huge. Like, they're the same size as like the raves that I was throwing in Phoenix when I like in 2010, which is crazy.
That's odd. Are you still going out to stuff? Because I feel like at a certain point,
more than I ever. I mean, cat.
Oh yeah, cutie. Sorry, he's gonna be climbing all over here.
Easily distracted. Yeah. I go out more in LA now. Well, I guess like I go on and off, right? Like, I go through phases, or like I'll go through full bender mode for like 1 month, and then I won't go out for. I haven't been going out this month because I've been working a lot. But yes, over the past year, I have been going out a lot, and it's been so much fun. Because again, like I said before, I feel like I didn't really ever go out in my first 8 years of living in LA. So I didn't really have like a good understanding of like what the culture was like, but I love it. I love going out in LA.
I feel like people go one of two ways. Either you go deeper into going out, or I think at a certain point, if you're doing this professionally, people kind of just shut it down and never go out and kind of just only live in their own little bubble. you know?
That was me for like my first 8 years for sure.
And, you know, I think it works both ways. It sort of just depends on your personality and where you're at in your life and all that sort of thing. But it's fascinating to me because I've definitely gone in and out of it. I'm in a mode right now where I'm not going to anything. I'm just in my house working, and you got to do both. I think you kind of have to like do one until you feel like you've kind of wrung all the juice out of it. And then at that point, make the uncomfortable choice to jump back into the other one.
Exactly. And it all just depends on like also like the people. Because I feel like when people jump in to LA scene without being aware of like kind of, you know, you are what you eat, like the people that are around you, there's a lot of different pockets that can be a little bit more black holes than you necessarily want them to be. And also, you know, it's like fucking drug use is just rampant at times. And so, you know, if you want to be sustainable, it's important to keep that in mind when you're surrounded by all that. Because I find a lot of people can easily get sucked into the trap of like full bender mode. And next thing you know, they're like having the same conversations with the same people until 8 o'clock in the morning. And they think that they're getting a lot done. And then you wake up the next day, you're like, fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah. I mean, that's the classic. And of course, I did this too when I was younger. It's the classic, like, up and comer, like, trap to think that partying is work, you know?
Yeah.
And think that you're getting something done.
But at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's definitely not anymore.
Yeah, I would say, I guess my little like delineation of it is being part of a community and participating in that community, extremely important, especially when you're coming up and all of that. But man, yeah, it's so easy to lose sight of it and be like, yeah, just getting wasted 5 nights a week. It's great. I'm killing it, you know?
See, I think I got really lucky. For a couple of reasons. Well, one, I definitely prepared myself from any like overdoing of any drug use, just based on like when I was like 15 to 18, I kind of got that all out of my system, like with party stuff. And so I got really lucky that when I first moved to LA, nobody in the OWSLA crew did drugs.
Yeah,
so
that's a great
that was
point.
like, that was just really convenient for me because I feel like, you know, I don't like doing like, I don't like cocaine. I don't like really like any of those drugs anyways. And so I was like, yes, like this is perfect for me. I wasn't ever like peer pressured into doing something. And I feel like because of that, I was able to keep my head straight, like super straight.
Yeah, that's so valuable. I mean, talking about like those early OWSLA years, and was it OWSLA that kind of, you know, that happening and that being a thing at that time, was that one of the catalysts that got you to move to LA?
100%. I was actually planning on moving to either Detroit, Chicago, or New York. Most likely Detroit, because that's what I could afford.
Right.
But, you know, at that point, like my little trajectory path was purely like house music and techno, like specifically Chicago house and Detroit techno. And so I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to go there. And then when I went to Bonnaroo and then the whole Skrillex thing happened, just like that series of events, like it went from Bonnaroo to Burning Man to Tomorrow Worlds, like all of those events happened within like 2 months of each other. And at the same time, you had people like Jonah Berry from Nest HQ. I don't know if you know who that is.
I love Jonah. Yeah.
Yeah. Jonah's amazing. He found me before anybody. He found me like literally, he knew me who I was as a DJ in Phoenix. Like he came out to Phoenix for a Bones show, Trevor Bones.
Right.
And I hung out with them literally like a week before I ended up going to LA for the first time. So I feel like I kind of solidified that friend group immediately and at the same time, if not before I moved. So by the time that I had gotten there, those were all of my new friends.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I mean, if you think back to that era and those people, you know, you were saying that nobody did drugs and that it was, you know, kind of this clean movement, for a lack of a better term. It wasn't
clean. We smoked a lot of cigarettes and drank a lot of alcohol.
Sure.
No,
yeah. Clean wasn't really the right choice of word, but you know what I mean? Like a little, maybe a bit of innocence. Like it wasn't like all the party monsters, that kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
Like what what was it? Was there like a unifying, I mean, obviously, like Sonny Skrillex at the head of it, leading it forward or whatever. But I mean, was there something that was tying everybody together as far as like a shared vision or an aesthetic or just a interest everyone kind of shared?
It's hard to say. I honestly think it's because Sonny didn't do drugs. And everyone kind of like, when he's hanging out, like other people weren't really just doing them around him because he doesn't do them. And I kind of felt like that set like the precedent. No one really talked about it, or no one, it's like, it wasn't like a thing that everyone's like, oh, should we like, or no one even really talked about it. It was just it wasn't a thing that anyone did. Everyone was kind of just content hanging out, drinking, skateboarding, and smoking.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, like skateboarding, that's more of what I'm interested in, is like what was tying it all together? Like what made it, because it really felt like a family, like it felt like a movement. And I guess I'm curious for you on the inside of it, like, was there something that you, looking back, you're like, oh yeah, like we all shared a common vision, or we all were the same type of people, or, was it anything like that?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think the overarching theme was friendship. I think that there was a lot of coincidences that happened within the OWSLA sphere. Like, for example, me, Jaws, and Ghastly all came up at the same exact time. Me and Ghastly have known each other for years from Phoenix days. Right. I knew Jaws because he was friends with Ghastly. Jaws went to Icon. Like, I don't know. I feel like just because all of us had established these friendships, like right before we all started coming up, like it just really bonded. It's like trauma bonding, but it's not trauma. It's like the opposite,
Right.
And so we'd all stick together, and it's almost like the more you stick together, the more you create this narrative for the fans, almost in a way. It's like now they're not just following you, like they're following this whole friendship group. Like they're getting all of these like little side details and information bits from everybody, and they're piecing it all together, and it makes it really fun for them. And I feel like that's kind of where this magic came from, was just true friendship and us being together, us all living on the same street in the same buildings and hanging out every single day and like collaborating together. We had a studio down the street. There was Lemon Tree as well. That was like a studio that everyone would work at.
Yeah, people can feel it, I think. It's a weird, intangible thing, but you're absolutely right that when the relationships between people are genuine and people actually like each other, from a fan perspective, there's a certain energy there. It's a really weird, intangible
It's not like we were all being put in like the room together being like, okay, it's not like Sonny's like picking people. It's like, hey, you guys are going to be friends and you guys are going to be friends. Like, no, like Sonny liked all of us because like we were already friends. Like we already had our shit. Like we were already doing stuff. So to come together just makes it even more special and powerful. But people ask me that question all the time. Like, what was it about OWSLA that made it special? Because it was magic, and like especially in like those years, in the early years, like so people always ask me that.
And that's the thing, because I think even people from the outside felt something, like they could tell something was going on that was maybe a little deeper than some other
power of love.
Yeah, honestly. It's corny, but it's kind of true. And you said so too, like you were joking about, trauma bonding and all of that, but I think there might be something to that idea. Like you were mentioning, Bonnaroo and all of these things happening right after each other, all happening very quickly, which I think for a young artist can be super overwhelming. It can feel, just like your whole life all of a sudden is saturated, like filled to the brim with new things and opportunities, and you don't know exactly where you're heading. You're kind of just on the ride. That period too. I mean, was that the case for you at all in terms of just like all the shit's all of a sudden happening? Obviously, you've been working towards it for a long time, but then just a bunch of shit gets bigger quickly. Did that feel overwhelming? Were you ready for it? What was that like?
So funny. That was another like really big interview question in the beginning that people would ask me, like, what does it feel like to like suddenly become like, you know, like the talk of the town or whatever they're saying.
Yeah, I'm just running down the hits.
No, it's funny though, because I remember like specifically answering, I don't know how it feels yet. I was like, I'm honestly on, like you said, like I'm on this ride and I know that it's happening. And like, I can understand that there's like, this is crazy, but I don't, because I'm inside of it, I can't see anything or feel anything objectively. And I don't actually know what it feels like. It just feels like kind of normal and like a lot. But in retrospect, in context, I'm like, okay, now I understand what that felt like. And like, it's imposter syndrome, honestly. It's a lot of imposter syndrome in the beginning. Because you're like, oh shit, like everyone thinks I'm like iconic. Like Skrillex is calling me a dope producer. Like, fuck, I gotta like become like a dope producer. I gotta like own this now. I have to really do this. And so it was a lot. It was, I think I kind of just put myself on like autopilot mode, or like just keep yourself numb. Like, don't get too excited. Don't get overwhelmed. Just like take everything as it comes. And, you know, just kind of the same way I've treated everything else in my life. I mean, pretty casual. I'm a very flexible person. So that helps.
And that's absolutely a good way to be. And if you're doing that consciously, kind of trying to keep yourself even and not get too high or too low, I mean, I think that's a very smart thing. It's, you know, what they say about not reading the comments. It's like, if you're not going to read the bad comments, you also shouldn't read the good comments, you know?
Yeah, don't read any comments ever.
Of course. But I guess in the bigger sense, what I'm saying is, you know, it's if you're able to sort of realize that neither the hype that you're getting nor the stress that you're feeling is really sort of actually applicable to who you are as an artist and a creative person and all that. That's very healthy.
Yeah.
And if you were able to realize that early, I mean, man, that's good, because not everybody does.
I don't think I realized it. I realize it now in retrospect. But again, at the time, like when I was being asked that question, like I genuinely didn't realize it yet. Like, and I didn't really feel it. I was kind of just like in like numb autopilot go mode.
Do you think
that was a genuine answer, and I was like, I have no idea how it
feels. Well, it's honest. It's good. I mean, that means you're self-aware at the very least.
I was like, I'll tell you later. Ask me in 10 years, and here we are.
Hey, here we are. I mean, do you look back at those times? Were you able to at least enjoy the craziness, the surreal nature of what was happening at the time? Oh
my God, yeah. No, I fully enjoyed it, especially in those early years. Like they always tell you, even one of my agents way back in the day, he was like, don't forget what this feeling's like, Mija. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to feel this forever. He's like, just don't forget what this feels like. And I was like, yeah, whatever.
That's good totally. Advice.
It's such good advice.
Yeah.
It only took like 2 years for me to be like, oh, damn, he was right.
Well, okay. Last question about that era, just because I always ask anyone who actually did this tour about this, because I still think it's the just craziest idea.
I know what you're going to say.
The full flex, the train tour.
It's the most insane tour.
It's so insane. I mean, for anyone who's hearing this who doesn't know, just look up Full Flex Express Tour. It was this tour you did. Was it all in Canada?
Yeah, it starts in, I believe, Toronto. Montreal. I think that's like the most east you can go. You start in Montreal and you hop on a train that's just one of the Canadian trains that Red Bull rents out, sponsors, decks out. There's like a little cute studio. Everyone has their own little tiny bedrooms, like little tiny bedrooms on this train. And we would stop in a different city every day or every other day and do a show. The whole tour was like Jack U, A$AP Ferg, Kaisa, me and Anna Luneau, Zed's Dead. Who am I forgetting? Oh, I'm sorry if I forgot you.
Yeah. There was Vindata?
I know Kai was there. No, okay. Kai was on for a little while. But anyways, it was insane. I think the craziest part of that tour was there's one stretch between cities where you are on this train for 36 hours straight.
Right.
And for, I want to say like 20 of those hours, there's 0 cell phone reception, 0 Wi-Fi. I honestly, those like hours on the train were an absolute blur. But we just imagine all of us, like, you don't have anything. All you can do is like drink and stay up. I think some of them took mushrooms. That was really fun.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Well, it's
like the one time you can do it when there's no cell phone reception.
Totally, yeah. And there's nowhere else you're supposed to be.
No, totally.
You're just on the train. I mean, and it's you just listed all those people. I just think about it, and a lot of those people I know.
Oh, Tycho. Oh my God, Tycho. Sorry, that was the one I'm forgetting.
And that's, I'm glad you remembered, because it's just from Tycho to ASAP.
The wild card, yeah.
I mean, that group of people, it's almost like a reality show or an escape room, like trapping that group of people together and just seeing what happens.
Oh God, it was so much fun. We would do after parties almost every night. Like, I think me and Anna were doing most of the after parties, but everybody would just come every night.
Right.
So we were literally all inseparable.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love Anna.
So much
too.
fun.
Anna's the best. But
she's such a sweetie.
Yeah, just the best. But man, yeah, I mean, that whole era, obviously legendary. Not that it ever exactly ended. Like, I feel like the OWSLA era kind of just slowly transitioned into something else for everybody. Not that everybody wasn't still friends and close and supportive and all that, but at one point, everyone was together in the same place, and eventually everyone kind of spread off.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happens.
What was that?
I think that's kind of what happens when everyone, because, like, when in those early days, like, we had all just started. Like, that was the very beginning of all of our careers. And then everyone kind of like blew up and in like the best way possible, and like started their own labels, or started their own projects, or started their own collective. Like, I feel like everybody has like their own communities now, which is kind of a beautiful thing, because I always knew from the very, very beginning, like, OWSLA is incredibly special. These people are so important to me. And like, this is a huge, like, growing period of my life. But I knew that nothing lasts forever. And it's important to create your own worlds, because if you live in someone else's world, it's not up to you. Like, you're in when you're in, and when you're out when you're out. But if you take that momentum and like really create like your own community. And I think that all of us did that really, really well. And that's why we're all still here, and we're all still touring and putting out music and stuff. So I think just like the natural trajectory, that's kind of what happened. Also, the OWSLA, I think they stopped putting out a lot of music. I think Sonny probably, took a little break to figure out like what he wants it to be next.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what that is or what that entails in the future. But yeah, I mean, I hope that they can do the same thing for like the next generation of producers. And I hope that they get that little spark again someday.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. And in one form or another, right? Like, you can still tell with Sonny to this day that he still loves finding new artists and loves finding new music.
Totally.
And, you can tell
he's a huge
just
supporter of the underdogs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think because he was an underdog in the beginning. So I think that's why
people forget.
I feel like I do the same thing. Like, I'm a massive underdog supporter. Like, I always try to put people on, because I don't know, it's just, that makes me so happy. I love it when people that like don't normally get seen, like, get their moment, because I think everyone gets their moment when they're ready for it.
Yeah, true. And sometimes I think the longer you do this too, you're sort of able to quickly identify when somebody is doing something really cool or really interesting. And, if you're one of the first people to sort of notice that, then yeah, it's the most fulfilling thing in the world, because that's what we all want, right? And what I wanted, and I'm sure you wanted at some point, is just for somebody to look over and be like, hey, that's cool. Like, just the acknowledgement of like this thing you've been working on, like, oh yeah, I like this. I see this. You're doing something cool. Like, just that validation is so hard to come by when you're coming up.
Man, it's true. It's really hard to come by. I feel like, and when I first started getting involved with all these different people and like having access to people like Sunny and like Diplo and like Dylan Francis. I was going through my Gmail earlier this week because I was like, you know what, I'm going to build my own DJ servicing promo list.
Yeah,
so I like actually went through all of my Gmail contacts and like organized and like industry DJs, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, I find myself like going through really old emails to like kind of figure out like what these email addresses are. When I tell you that I was immediately putting on all my friends, like I found emails of me sending Jaws songs to Diplo. I found an email of me sending San Holo songs to Dylan Francis, just being like, hey, check this out. Like, you got to check out this person. San Holo is actually a funny one. Like, I found him on SoundCloud and I loved his music. And in the very beginning, I think I heard like his Oreo Point remix or something.
Oh, yeah.
Which was so good. I was like, this is so special and unique. And I cold DM'd him, San Holo, Gmail, whatever. And I was like, hey, man, just so you know, I'm your biggest fan. I don't care what anybody says. I'm number one. And he was like, oh my God, thank you so much. But I don't know. It's just like, I love supporting underdogs, especially in the very beginning. And obviously now like they've all like blown up, and that's not because of me by any means. I do not take credit for any of that. But I just found it really funny how like they were underdogs at the time. And I was just like, oh, I gotta plug him in. I gotta contact, like this person deserves to get heard. Like, you know, I fucking love it.
Yeah. And not everybody does that either. That's something because I'm somewhat similar to you, where if I see somebody doing something cool, it's just fun for me to get in touch and see if I can help. Not that I, am some power broker, but again, just like being like, yeah, I see you, you're doing something cool. I'm around if you need anything. I love doing that. And I've always been that way. It sounds like you've always been that way, but it took me a while to realize that not everybody is that way.
Not everybody's like that.
Which is just an odd realization. When I was younger, I just sort of thought everyone would do that for me too, because I didn't
same.
really,
You really think that everybody in the world is just like as nice as you are. I was very optimistic like that as well. You realize that not everybody's like that, but at the end, it's okay. Like not everybody has to be like that. I think that some people are still like growing into their own confidence and their own security. I think that people tend to think music is like some competition because, it's a game now, like based on how the industry works. Like it is a game that you have to play, and it is like that. But you have to, take everything with a grain of salt, take a step back and realize, oh no, we're artists. We're making art. Like this is what we chose to do for a living. So maybe let's not take it so seriously and competitive and just do it because we're artists, and we would be doing it even if nobody was watching us. Like that's why we're artists.
Absolutely.
And if that's not why you're an artist, you probably shouldn't be one.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't disagree with that at all. And I think the only thing I'd add, and I say this all the time, but it's like the point is to have fun at the end of the day. Like if you want to work really hard at something and not have fun, there's a lot of other jobs you could be doing that would probably make your life a little easier,
Yeah, pay way more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Music does not pay money unless you are touring and you're like big, but like even then, like there's a huge discrepancy in pay between like people who you think are big and then like the superstars. Like there's a huge pay gap.
Oh yeah, no, the middle class of DJing, I mean, is enormous, and the gap is crazy. I don't think people know that. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like you're generally not making money off of like your streams. Generally speaking, like if you are, I mean, if it's like a barely livable wage, but it's not like what people think of when they're like, oh, superstar DJs, like they're so rich and they're making so much money. And you're like, yeah, but I also have to spend a lot of money in order to like, and I have to do it all on my own, especially if you're on record label like I am, which I guess there's not really that many of people like me. But.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also part of sort of selling it in order for you to make that money and to keep being able to do it is that, every DJ to a certain point is projecting an image of them as a star, right? It's like because it's just playing the game, social media, you want to appear cool so that people are interested, but that also builds this perception that everyone's successful and famous and all of that, which, again, can only go so far before the illusion sort of falls apart.
Right. That's always one thing that I've tried. I've tried not to do is like create an illusion, because at the end of the day, my entire brand since I started was just based on people liking me as a person. And I used to always be like, oh man, this is really good for me. I hope people just don't like stop liking me someday. Like that would be terrible for my branding.
Well, I think you're doing okay because you named an album Desert Trash, which was like, that was my favorite. It still makes me laugh to this day. I love that album title. It's just perfect.
Thank you. It's so funny. My favorite bar in LA ended up being La Poubelle, which is called The Trash.
Oh, nice.
In French. I don't think any of my friends knew that at the beginning. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah, we're supposed to be here.
You just have a long running back and forth with the concept of trash.
I love it. I feel like I resonate with trash so hard. I don't know why. I just do. I understand it. I get it.
It's important to, I mean, if you feel like, maybe that was like not trash in a pejorative sense, but like the embracing the trash nature of maybe some of how you came up and all that, then you got to stay close to that. That's like a North Star.
Stay to your roots.
Yeah, 100%.
Know where you came from.
Yes, absolutely. I'm all over the place. I have so many things I want to ask you, but I want to make sure we talk a little bit about the new EP, the No Rules EP. And I wanted to ask you, because I like the EP. I listened to the whole thing this morning, and it's really good. Yeah, I like it a lot. I feel like it's the clubbiest I've heard you be in a while. And
yes.
I just wanted to talk about where does that come from? Anywhere in particular? Because it's like, these are like underground, like club tunes.
Let me tell you, I feel like, okay. So in the beginning of my producer career, I really wanted to make house music. Like, I think I like dabbled here and there. The problem was I wasn't very, like, my taste in house music was far superior to my abilities in producing house music. And I always I kind of strayed from it. And I started, doing things that were a little bit easier for me to do in the beginning, which ended up being some of the trappy things, some things that I didn't really have as pretentious of taste in, to where I was able to kind of reconstruct things that I was like, okay, yeah, this fits the vibe. But whenever it was like a classic club house track, it wasn't really meeting the mark. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to force it. I did it a little bit. I have a lot of softer, jazzier, or maybe some melodic techno-y songs, but they aren't really club bangers. They're a little bit more lo-fi. And I was like, okay, that's a good starting point. And then I did the whole songwriting thing or whatever. And I felt like by the time I came back, circling back when I started making these songs, I was like, oh, this feels so easy for some reason. I don't know what clicks. Something clicks. I think, just years of producing, you finally understand, stop fucking trying so hard, take everything off your channels, literally EQ compressors, stop doing everything, making everything so complicated. And immediately my production got way better. I don't know. I feel like I kind of just hit a flow and I started understanding what I wanted it to sound like. And I understand what I like to play in my DJ sets. I started being able to make things that were, kind of on par with other things that I was already playing and were fun to mix. And I don't know. I think I just finally caught it. Yeah,
it's a cool moment because I think every producer has many of these moments over a long career, but it's always a very cool moment when your production ability starts matching the music you're hearing in your head. Yeah.
And it's hard when it doesn't. You're like, this sucks.
I feel like mostly it doesn't,
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad that I finally hit my zone. And now I'm in my producer era, just go. Even after my EP, I already have a remix lined up. I have, I think 2 songs lined up actually before the end of the year. And then I have also been making some drum and bass lately too, because for whatever reason, people, my agent didn't pitch this. I don't know where this came from, but last year, every festival wanted to book me as a drum and bass set.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, okay, I see you guys. Like you like drum and bass is having a little moment. Like I'm happy to oblige. I'm super good at this. And so I did all these drum and bass sets and I was like, okay, well, I need to make some drum and bass songs. I like made one, I was rinsing that out. And then I don't know, got in a little flow and started making a bunch the other week too. So I think I'll probably drop some of those next year. So, you know, we'll cycle back and forth between house music, between some drum and bass, but even my drum and bass isn't usually, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying about my drum and bass.
Well, I feel like a lot of don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think what I'm hearing you talk about, which I notice in a lot of your music, is that you've always been multi-genre and you've always made a lot of different styles of music. But to me, there's a certain aesthetic. There's something that runs through a lot of it that makes it identifiable as you. Like there's a certain twist. I don't know if it's like a certain like indie bent or a certain like, I don't know, like moody bent, but there's something regardless of the genre where I can hear it and it's pretty quick. I can be like, oh yeah, that's Mija made that.
I love that for me. Thank you for saying that. My old tour manager, actually, Ryan, we were on the road for years together. We were at this underground LA party that I was doing. And he said the same thing to me. He was like, I can always tell when it's your song. Cause I was like, oh, did you hear this song? Like I was, trying to brag to him, like, it's my new song. He's like, oh yeah, I always know. I can always tell when it's yours. And I've been sitting here like, this is amazing. Cause like people are starting to say this to me, but I don't fully know what that identifiable thing is, but I know that it's there. And I love that, like, finally after, and I think that just comes from making enough music for that to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm stoked on that. I've been starting to put the Kim Possible beep as my tag, my producer tag in all my songs. Nice. So if you're wondering what that's all about, that's me being silly.
That's great. I wish more dance music producers would start doing the tag. I love producer tags in songs.
I do too. Well, San Holo used to do it. Or I think he had like the twirl tag or whatever. Yeah,
that's right.
Do you remember that? I don't think he does that anymore. But in the beginning, I was like, bring back producer tags. I feel like that only happens in hip hop.
There's such a crazy energy for like hip hop mixtapes where the DJ is, dropping the tag every like 60 seconds, running the track back, all of that. There's a certain kind of like visceral energy that it doesn't exactly translate to dance music, but I wish more people would try,
I feel like in the UK, they kind of have a similar DJing vibe as like that because they have a lot of MCs though, right? That might have something to do with it.
Well, and that's the Caribbean culture, which of course is, there's a huge Caribbean population in the UK and a lot of like Jamaican and dance hall influences going all the way back. So and drum and bass too, as long as we're talking about that. I mean, all of that is coming from the islands, and they're always
spinning the tracks back.
It's my favorite.
You spin the track back in America, everyone looks at you like they're so confused. Yeah. Unless you have like a British person or a hype man or something to like hype up the crowd. People in America don't really understand the spin backs.
Well, I
love it. I love the energy.
I love it too. This is a very quick tangent, but I want to say it because I think you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's this very specific type of person in America who's like an older white drum and bass MC who does a British voice only when they're MCing. And
it's so funny.
There's one in every city and they always manage to like, I don't know, I'm probably talking shit about some very nice people, but it was just so funny to me because this has been for decades. Every city has the one white dude who does the British voice when he's on the mic and it just kills me.
Can I tell you a secret? The song Nobody Does Drugs Like You Do he's not old. He's very, very young. He's such a sweetie. His name is Deegan and he is a non-British white boy.
Nice.
But I did specifically ask him, I was like, Deegan, because he's an insane freestyler. He can also what do you call it when you like act like somebody?
Like a mimic.
Yeah, he can like mimic people, whatever that word is. And he can do anything. Yes, he can do an impression of anything. And I was like, Deegan, I'm going to need you to do a freestyle in a British voice. And he was like, got you.
Yeah. And of
And I
course,
was like, perfect. Love it. Thanks.
no, yeah, I know that track and it sounds great. I'm not really talking shit because like Drake puts
He's not
on
an
a British,
MC though.
Yeah, I mean, Drake puts on a British voice when he's rapping with UK guys. So it's like everybody's doing it. But yeah, it's just funny.
It's so funny. No, it's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be cooler than they are is just the thing.
Also, British voices when rapping just sounds so cool.
They do. The British accent in general, I don't know. There's something about it. You could be saying the dumbest thing, but if you're saying it in a British accent, it sounds, a little smarter.
People take you seriously. Like,
absolutely.
Totally.
But okay, so No Rules EP. I also wanted to ask, like, there's obviously like you have songs with people like Cakes the Killer and Recno, and there's a lot of like ballroom and Vogue influences. Where does that come from? What was like? How did that enter your life? What's your exposure to that? Why that for this EP?
Well, do you remember when I said that I was going to move to either Chicago or Detroit or New York?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's literally why, because I was obsessed with disco and with Vogue and with just the entire culture. I think, I think I've been exploring my own queerness since I was like in high school or middle school. So it wasn't even necessarily like an exploration of that, but it was like kind of a fuse between identifying with like part of that community and also just like really becoming a very elitist househead and like understanding where all the roots come from. And I mean, fight me on it. I fully believe that like ballroom culture started electronic music. Like it started like house music in particular. It was like the road to disco. Disco led to house. And like we're literally standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, and I feel like often it doesn't get talked about. And I think, it's just like a piece of history that won't ever get forgotten. But as, house and techno and tech house becomes even more popular, I think it's just important to like kind of educate the masses and remind people of, the foundation that they're building on.
I mean, I would say it's queer people and Black people.
That's literally the entire ballroom culture.
That's 100% of dance. Yeah. Like without queer people and without Black people, there is no dance music. The EDM era and how big it's gotten in the States, obviously we've gotten very far afield from those roots. And certainly the originators don't really get their due. And I don't know that I have a specific thought or a specific question here, but I do always wonder about trying to educate while still, trying to push things forward and still obviously trying to like satisfy a lot of people in order to like sustain your career. Do you think about those kind of things as far as like how much of each, what's the push pull in what I'm doing?
100%. I do. I think for me, the goal is to educate without them knowing that I'm educating them. In the same way where if I wanted something from somebody,
right.
I would try to figure out, okay, well, how can I make them think that this is their idea? So that way they just give it to me without me having to ask for it.
That's very
I'm not manipulative.
That's
I'm not manipulative.
I mean, sure, that's manipulative, but at the same time, man, that's just business
but not
gets
in like
done that way.
Not in a, in a malintention.
Totally.
Not in like a bad way. But I think that in the same thing, like if you want to educate people just like it when they think that they discovered it on their own. They like it when they think they learned. Like, I don't want to like force anything into anybody, but I did and have been making like clips, using the documentary, and posting those and like using the exact parts where they said the samples that I put in the song, like underneath. So they know exactly who said that sample and where it came from. But, having it just be like an organic, like, it's just like a video, it's not like me being like, and this is this person and that's that person.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
No, they can figure that on their own, but at least now they know where this came from.
And when you say the documentary, just for people who don't know, we're talking about Paris is Burning.
Yeah.
Which is
such a good one.
It's incredible. And again, for people who don't know, and if you're interested in the stuff we're talking about and want to look into it, Paris is Burning, incredible documentary about, all the early days of all of these cultures that we're talking about.
But the cool thing about this song, so I originally made the demo using only the movie samples. And I was like, okay, well, how do I now make this like a little bit more modern? Like, obviously the production's modern, but how do I make this applicable to like today? And so I was the first person I sent it to was Cakes Tequila, because obviously incredible, iconic vocalist, artist. And he loved the song. And I was so stoked. I was so happy. Immediately he was like, yeah, babes. I never met him before. I just like cold messaged him.
Nice.
Yeah, I love doing that. And he sent back a verse, like I think within a few weeks. And then I got it back and I was really stoked on it. And I was like, okay, I have to show this to Rekna, because Rekna is one of my besties. And I knew that he would like it. And then I also had a little opening for him. So I was like, just like, if you feel like it, no pressure, like here's a little opening. Actually, before I even got the vocals back from Cakes, I think I had sent it to Rekna also, just in case, to like get vibes and get different verses. And literally the night that before I uploaded it, Rekna hits me back with his verse. Like I thought the song, or no, not before uploading it, before getting it mastered.
Oh yeah.
Or yeah, right as I was doing the mastering with my friend. And I got to put in his vocal at the very last second. And that was really exciting. But anyways, all this to say, I think it's important to not only showcase like, the originators, the original queens, but also bring in like the ones that are still killing it today.
Yeah.
And let them like, showcase those people, because honestly, like those people are the ones that are even like closer and more resonant to this community than I am. So I didn't want to be like the only person on the track. I wanted to like, also include other people.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. That's the way to, I mean, that's, the whatever you want to call it, the appropriation conversation that's kind of always existed since dance music really started blowing up. That to me, it always seemed obvious to me. People are like, oh, well, how do we make it better? And I'm like, well, just fucking put the people on the song. Like, just put them on the stage, put them on the song. It's not complicated.
Just include people.
Yeah.
Include people without like the expectation of getting something out of them.
Right.
I feel like people a lot of times only like put on features that they know will be like a good look, or will push streams, or will do this. And like they're making really business decisions. And sometimes I do that as well. Like, you have to play the game. But, for a song like this, where I'm already taking a risk and like using all these samples, like you gotta make it worth it. You gotta like put something new on it. Like I can't just like build the whole thing around this, like those samples, and then expect to like monetize off of it. Like, no, you have to put a twist on it. You can like make music that's like a part of a different culture and like than you, and you can still be an ally as long as you're like making it inclusive for everybody, and you're not like, making it all about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just, making space for people, for, it's like and I'm speaking more for like myself than for you here, but it's like, if you're in the position where you're given a platform or a stage and all of that, like you said, it's really not hard to include other people who maybe weren't given the same platform. It's not hard.
And that's just good karma too. It's good karma for you. It makes you look like a good person, like makes you look good for other people, makes you feel good on the inside. And also like, then maybe someone will give you, your big opportunity to do something later. And I think maybe also because I've gotten such huge opportunities, kind of just like, I mean, I know that they weren't just handed to me. Like, I know that I worked really hard, but at the same time, you can't help but feel like, at the like that you were kind of handed it to you at like the right time or whatever. And because of that, I've always wanted to extend my hand and like do the same thing. It's like when the person in front of you pays for your food, you pay for the person behind you.
Yeah, 100%. It's
no one's ever done that for me before, but
yeah,
I've heard about it on TikTok.
Yeah, I've never gotten that one either, but that's all right. There's still time. Okay, a couple more things I wanted to talk about before we wrap it up here. You mentioned, I think at the start of this conversation, we were talking about that you're very busy doing a bunch of stuff right now, getting ready for a tour. And you said something, I wrote this down because I wanted to talk about it. You're like, yeah, and I'm trying to push tickets. And that's hard as an independent artist, independent label owner, hard tickets, going out on tour. It's just something I haven't gotten to talk a lot about on this podcast. Can you talk about the process of pushing tickets when you've got a show, or not a show, but you've got a tour coming up and you know that a lot of moving the tickets is going to end up on you? Obviously, there's promoters and there's managers and promotion and all that, but a lot of it does come from you. How are you doing that? It's a hard thing to do.
It's really hard, especially like today. I feel like pre-COVID, there was a lot of soft ticket rooms. There was a lot of soft ticket clubs. It was really easy to be a DJ and able to tour and just like fill these clubs that are most likely going to have people in it every night anyways.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really...
We should say soft ticket for people who don't know is, kind of like it's a plug and play kind of night where it's an established night that happens either every week or every month and people just show up. And so they can, they have a lot more leeway in terms of booking.
Yeah, they already have like a community established. Like they already have a draw of people that'll show up every week for the party, regardless of who's playing.
Yeah.
However, I feel like those types of rooms, a lot of them either went out of business, they got eaten up by, like the bigger companies. There are still some of them, but most of the tickets these days that everybody's doing are hard tickets. Like soft tickets are very far and few between. So now you have to sell tickets as if you were like a band, right?
Yep.
Which is fine. It's just like it's a little bit more stressful, especially when you are promoting. So like for me, I'm doing all of the assets. I'm doing all the ad mats. I'm like also doing all the graphic design. I literally wear all these hats. I don't know why I do this to myself. But so like my day to day is constantly like making new ads for the promoters or like editing things because, I have a lot of typos sometimes, or making like shout out videos for the cities and doing kind of like checking on all of the cities at the same time and making sure everyone's got their links up and they're all linked to Bandcamp and that everything is kind of seamless. But, there's so many moving parts. And luckily I have an awesome team that helps me with most of like the marketing stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm still figuring it out, honestly. Yeah. I hope please, if you're hearing this, please come to my tour. I feel like no matter how many shows you do, you still walk into a venue and you're like, is anybody going to show up? Like, I hope people come.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you're like, oh, thank God people came most of the time. Like, most of the time.
Yeah. No, I know exactly that feeling. I get that every single time. And now we're also in this era where the classic thing is, someone will be like, when are you coming to Buffalo? And you're like, I played Buffalo last weekend. Where
literally
were you?
That's my least favorite thing. Because I'm like, how many times I posted it? Yeah. But that's the problem, right? It's like, what percentage of your fans are actually seeing your posts unless you pay for them? Oh man, this whole thing's a crazy game. These companies, they really got us like...
Yeah.
It's got us wrapped around their fingers.
It's bad. Capitalism is not good for art. I'm obviously not the first person to say that, but man, we're really seeing the effects now. Like it's getting pretty extreme.
So I'm still figuring it out. I have been finding like I had this epiphany maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, where I was sitting in bed on TikTok and I'm like, why am I not making the types of videos that I'm watching on TikTok? Like my For You page is so embarrassing. It's like so nerdy. All my videos are like 2 to 5 minutes long because they're like, just always very niche, like talking about specific things, or they're like story times. And I was like, maybe I'll do like a story time. Like I'll just be like, because, it's been almost 10 years now since I came up and like a lot of people know where I came from, but there's also I didn't fully realize the extent of like how many fans I have that I've accumulated just in the past few years that have no idea where I started. They just happened to find me. And so like me telling that initial story went a little bit viral and like naturally it's a crazy story. But I feel like that kind of helped remind people or let new people, in on like a little fun fact about me and how I came up. And I feel like that kind of set a little bit of momentum that I've done 10 parts which is a lot of work, mind you, like all this scripting and like I've never done anything like this before. But
I've been
trying to do that, and that's been helping to push tickets.
And that's good. I mean, those are, I relate to that because that kind of thing, I mean, those are short form podcasts almost,
Literally. It's hard making them a minute, 30 seconds though. Oh my God. Like, I don't know. Editing this stuff down to like fit the criteria of Instagram is so difficult. I have to talk so fast. I have to but I have to like edit myself like 5 times as fast as I'm talking.
Yeah, no, I've had that experience for certain like ad reads that I do on this podcast. And yeah, it's a nightmare. I get angry about it because I'm just like, why does what I want to do have to be filtered through like a corporate meeting that happened in some building a couple of years ago? I hate it, but at the same time, you're right that what you really got to do is like study what's working on whatever platform you're thinking about and figure out how you can do it in a way that feels authentic to you, Or
even more than studying what's working, what are you watching?
Yes, absolutely.
And how do you make that applicable? Like, how do you do that? That way, because if you're watching it, you'd probably enjoy doing it.
That's a great.
I think.
Yeah,
I mean, I enjoy making these. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it today, but then I'll do it and I'll be like, oh, that was cool. And it's kind of like, honestly, a little bit therapeutic. It's kind of like journaling. Like I now have this Google Doc of like 30 pages already. I'm like, damn, I should write a book. Like I can just go to some chat GPT and be like, fill an empty space. Let's see use your imagination. Let's see how crazy the story can get.
I like that a lot. That's a great idea, actually. It's just
honestly, make a fiction book. Oh, damn.
Dude, put in the bullet points of your life and let them fill in the rest.
I'm going to put in all of my story times and just be like, make a story.
I love that. I mean, that's, do you know the comic Norm Macdonald?
No.
Norm Macdonald, he died a few years back, but he was on Saturday Night Live, and he's just a beloved sort of legendary comic from a couple generations back. And he put out a memoir that was sort of kind of loosely, like it hit some points that actually happened in his life, but then all the rest was total fiction. But he didn't promote it like that. Like he promoted it like it was an actual memoir. And it was, wow. And it's really well written. He's a great comic, but it was just such a cool little art piece. It was kind of like an Andy Kaufman-esque thing to do towards the end of his life.
Andy Kaufman's so cool.
Okay, before we wrap this up, I have to at least spend a couple minutes talking to you about Happy Hardcore.
Ooh, my fave. Let's go.
My fave
Hit
too.
Me.
So
my first love, just so you know. Like I always say it was house music because that's like when I started understanding dance music. But my first love was Happy Hardcore.
Me too. The first, I mean, so I grew up, I was born and raised in Minneapolis, and I was like a little raver kid there and going to little warehouses and all that. The first, I didn't know they had that
in Minneapolis.
Oh man,
that's so cool.
Oh yeah, Minneapolis.
That must have been freezing.
So it's
in those
funny.
warehouses.
Yeah. So there would be raves in ice arenas, like
wow,
like sort of in Minneapolis. They have this in other cities too, but there's complexes where it's like 5 ice rinks in one giant kind of complex. But they don't all have ice in them at the same time. So like one room would be like where the giant rave is. And then another room where the ice was kind of like the chill out room.
Chill out room. I see what you did there.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. So but the first like live electronic music I ever saw was Happy Hardcore. And
who was it?
It was these Midwest dudes. There was from Minnesota DJ Spree, was... Yeah, you know Spree.
Yeah,
and then,
Spree came to Phoenix.
There you go. Yeah, he was a legend. He was actually one of my first DJ mentors. Super nice dude.
I never met him.
Really nice guy. He's still around. He has a new project now that does more kind of like house and two-step kind of stuff. But I don't think DJing's like his main gig these days.
That's so funny. There's this tech house duo, the very, very, very popular. I won't say their name because I don't think that they'll like it very much. But one of them used to be a huge Happy Hardcore producer that I am like this person walks so Darren Styles could run, like that type of legend.
Wait, can you say what their Happy Hardcore name was?
if I do it, you're going to be able to Google it and figure it out.
That's fine. Tell me once we're done recording, because I'm sure I know this person.
I'm going to tell you when we're done.
Yeah.
100% you'll know. And I only am not saying it because that person was like, don't tell anybody, because obviously
fine.
like,
That's
you know,
totally
they're planting
fine.
tech house. They're very mainstream. Like they can't have, can't be like a cool house person and have like happy hardcore chasing after you.
I don't know. AC Slater did it.
I try to do it.
AC Slater did it.
AC Slater did it so good. I forgot that he was a happy hardcore boy.
Oh, that was when I first met him, man. Yeah. I have his old like happy hardcore vinyl. He ran his own happy hardcore label for years.
I know.
Yeah.
Aaron's so cool, man.
He's the best.
What a legend.
But so I just went on this rant. Let me ask you, for you, like you said, happy hardcore is your first love. What is getting into dance music look like for you? I know you were in Phoenix. You were throwing shows at a young age. What was life? What was the scene? Happy hardcore. How does this all come together for you?
All right, let me set the scene for you.
Please.
So when I was 15 or 14 or 15, I think I was 15. I saw a YouTube video randomly, and it was a song called "Raver's Fantasy" by like Tune Up, I think.
Okay.
First electronic song I ever heard, I was like, what is this? I want to do, like, this is insane. I need to explore this. The next week, I think I took like mushrooms for the first time. And I was like, I met the friends that were going to take me to the rave. A week after that, went to my first rave. It was called Just the Beginning in some like warehouse downtown across the street from another rave warehouse called the Ice House. Just random. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Also, the name Just the Beginning is very...
It was Just the Beginning 4. I think there was like 7 of them total.
Yeah, I love... That's the thing. People don't do that.
But that's a crazy name, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Just the Beginning. Just the Beginning. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I had the most insane experience of my life. Experienced a lot of things for the first time that night. And just was fucking obsessed with it. Like, that's all I could think about. Like I went home and I immediately bought buckets of colorful beads and strings. And I would just like every day after school, I would like make candy and listen to rave music and like dance around my room and smoke weed before my parents got home. And I was like, this is everything. They wouldn't let me go out. I was actually grounded like my entire childhood. So I would sneak out of my house.
Why were you grounded? What'd you do?
For going to raves.
Oh, okay. It's a cycle. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically grounded from 15 to 18.
Nice.
But I would, sneak out of my house every single weekend, and I would put on all my candy on my arms, and I would go to these parties and just jump up and down at like 180 beats per minute all night long.
It's the best.
My God, it was the energy. I don't know if it was it was my age, or if it was the drugs, or if it was just like the adrenaline of a new experience. It's probably an accumulation of everything all at the same time, but it just really opened my eyes up. I think I also didn't really get along with, or like, I just wasn't that interested in the people I went to school with in high school. I lived in like a suburb. And so getting to go to downtown Phoenix and meet a melting pot of all of these other kids from around the valley and all these different cities, and like actually meet people that were like-minded to me was huge. Like those became my best friends. I got kicked out of high school, and then those really became my best friends.
Did you get kicked out for going to raves? What happened there?
I got kicked out for snorting an ecstasy pill in class.
In class?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It wasn't mine. Someone like offered it to me, and I was like, I was such a brat. No, I wasn't. I was such a brat. Like, this girl offers it. She's like, hey, I have this like green PlayStation. Do you want to cut it in half and split it? And you know what my response is? Being a fucking dumbass. I'm like, oh, that won't really do anything to me unless I snort it. Fucking idiot. So we all got searched, and I had some shit in my bag, and I got kicked out of school. Expelled for a year is what they called it.
Expelled for a year. That's so funny.
Yeah. I went to alternative school, but alternative school was where all of my raver friends went to school. So it was actually like perfect, because I only had to go to school now for 4 hours a day, and I was on like a computer. I finished all my school in like 6 months. And I got to then hang out with all my raver friends who were also in alternative school.
There you go. I mean, was it the kind of thing? Because I think a lot of times we hear this all the time with school being a bit rigid for some people. Was it the sort of thing where like the sort of school structure wasn't for you, but then once you found the things you wanted to do or were interested in, you were able to like really focus and lock in?
Oh yeah. I was really good at school. I was naturally just like kind of, I'm kind of one of those kids that you hate that doesn't like have to try very hard to do anything. Yeah. They just kind of like get by easily. And so school was always really, really easy for me. I was kind of able to just like get straight A's and not have to do much. But, wait, what was your question again?
Oh, just like once you found your real interests, real passions that you were able to like focus on.
Yeah. So I was not interested in school at all. I hated waking up early. I hated being told what to do. But when I did find like, I became closer with all the people in the raves that were like actually throwing parties, obviously that's why I inject myself into their groups. And I'm like, what can I do? Like, how can I help? Like, let me flyer for you. Can I come to your party for free if I work the door? Like, doing anything I could because also I can't afford to go to these raves. Yeah. So I need to get in for free. So I need to become friends with all the vendors and doing all of that. And I think that I just already had like that enthusiasm and ability to kind of take on and learn really, really fast and, fake it till you make it. Act like you're supposed to be there. Act like, I was a promoter. I was like helping my friends throw parties for a couple years. I wasn't able to throw my own until I turned 18 and I kind of knew that. So I didn't throw my own party till I turned 18.
Right.
But then I quickly stopped throwing parties after that.
What happened?
It's hard.
Oh yeah, it is really hard.
I had made money on my first party. I think I made money on my second one. I think it was my third party that I invested into, and it was the first time that we had partnered with like one of the main club promoters in Phoenix. Like before, it was like very separate worlds. You had like raves, and then you had clubs. But we partnered for the first time. Lost all of my money, and I was like, okay. This sucks. I quit. I'm a DJ now. I'm really good friends with that promoter now, though. Don't worry.
Oh, no, of course. And I mean, that's promoter life. I say this all the time. Promoting is, to me, the scariest job in the industry by far.
It's the riskiest. Yeah. You're taking on all of the risk. You're the only person that's going to lose money at the end of the day.
What kind of parties were these that you were either helping or throwing yourself? Like, are we talking about like warehouse, like underground things?
Yeah, we're talking like warehouse in the industrial district of like downtown Phoenix, 3,000 capacity, no AC, sweating, raver rain down the ceilings, like $35 tickets and no alcohol, all dry, and demographic being like, I don't know, probably like 15 to 20 years old.
That's a thing that I think also people don't know about is that a lot of when we're talking about the old days and these raves, there was no booze. It's crazy.
Because nobody could drink. Everyone was underage.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure like licensing and all that is tough when you're in this.
No, we had hired undercover cops. Like we weren't like, it wasn't illegal, but it was only legal because we had like hired off-duty cops. That's like the loophole.
Totally. Yeah.
But you don't have liquor permits at all.
No. Yeah. It's this weird gray area. But yeah, it's a funny thing. It's funny you said that because once you said it, I was like, oh, right. None of those shows, when I think back to my childhood, nobody was selling booze. And I think these days...
they sold orange juice and glow sticks.
Yeah, there was like... did you guys have the weird like sort of hippie vendors who would just set up the table with some crystals and maybe like a weird smoothie?
No, we didn't have that.
Okay.
We had our staples. We had Click's Bag of Tricks. He did all the lighting. Josh Wacky Weenies. He did the food.
I love these names.
And then my friends, Christian and Chris, back in the day, they had this company called Framp, and they were the original people in Phoenix, at least, that were making like the spirit hoodies and like all of like the rave clothes. And so they had their own little like vendor booth. So it was basically just my group of friends. Yeah. We owned everything. We monopolized the scene.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's generally a good sign.
It was great.
Yeah.
We all helped each other out. Like we all had our own parties, right? Like everyone had, and our parties were like our babies. Like, So everyone had their baby, and we'd all like help out with each other's. We'd all like everyone had their own badges at the parties. Like we'd always make like production badges, and everyone had their rave name on their badge. I still have like hundreds of mine. from back in the day.
I love thinking about that. And you just made me realize, and maybe this is a way we can wrap it up, is, from talking about the early days all the way up till now, the OWSLA years, all that, a theme that's been coming up in this whole talk is like family and community and doing stuff with your friends. Do you feel like you have that now? Because I feel like at this point we were talking about, you graduated from OWSLA or whatever it was, and you've gone on and formed your own little world, brought people into that. Like, what is it? What's the family? What's the community? Like, what's keeping you excited and pushing forward now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, it's still the same thing. It's still mostly my friends. I have the most supportive, incredible group of friends right now. I think I have more friends now than I've ever had in my entire life. And that has felt really, really, really special. Like, it's different, obviously. Like, every phase of your life is going to be different. Like, the friendships that I had before are just as special as my friendships now. But the difference now is that I'm not surrounded by people that are doing the same exact thing as me. So I'm able to get so many different perspectives and see so many people thrive in like their thing that they do. Like, some of my friends are like pop stars. Some of them are in bands. Some of them are photographers. Some of them are like professional choreographers and are like drag queens. Like, everyone has like their own thing, and everybody in my friend group is really, really talented and like really good at just what they do. And really passionate about it. And so I love getting all of that energy. I love witnessing people succeed in all different avenues of life. And I feel like that's been even more fulfilling for me, because it's not like me comparing myself or comparing my trajectory to anybody else's. Not that it's ever been a competition for me. I fully believe that there's enough space, everybody can win.
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool just to like, I don't know, see all these different walks of life. It's really inspiring.
Yeah, of course. And of course, that feeds back into your own creativity and just enriches anything that you want to do. Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to look at it. Is there anything else, like, as far as like the EP, by the time people hear this, will be out? It's great. We talked about, you've got ideas for the future coming up. Do you have a grander vision for what you're doing, where you want to take it? Anything you haven't done yet?
I wish I knew what I wanted to do. Like there's some people like Oliver Tree, for example. I've had conversations with him where he's like, he knows his entire life path, like trajectory. Like, he knows what he's going to do 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like, he's got it all laid out. And then there's people like me. Like, there's two different types of creative, right? There's like the people that like create things like so beautifully and intentionally and like so far in advance. And then there's people that just play in the dirt until like something happens.
Yeah.
And that's me, like full goblin. Like, I am the type, desert trash, right? Like, I'm literally just out here playing in the dirt, taking opportunities as they come, walking through doors. And I am open to everything. So I don't ever want to like close off anything. But I think the ultimate goal is to create forever and to be happy. And that's honestly, as long as I have the ability to do those two things and also not have to set an alarm every single morning, then I'm good.
That's it. That's such a good answer. It's so good, man, because I think some people spend their whole lives coming to that realization. Because even outside,
I said that when I was 5 years old, that it was on my kindergarten paper. My mom kept it because I took it home from school. They're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I literally wrote happy.
Wow.
I was 5. My mom's like, "Damn, I'm going to save this."
That's insane. Do you think, okay, I
must have gotten that from something, right? I don't know. I don't know if I got that from something and I was like, "Oh, that's cute." But 5 years old was crazy.
Well, either that or like, do you think you were unhappy about something at that time that seemed insurmountable?
What was happening? I got adopted that year, so I think I was pretty stoked. I don't know.
Wow. I didn't realize you were adopted.
Well, I'm half adopted. So my mom had me when she was 18 and I didn't have a father figure at all. And then she got married when I was 5 and that man adopted me and he's who I consider my father. I see. Well, yeah, of course. Then that must have felt amazing. Yeah. Can you imagine adopting a 5-year-old when you're like 23? That's insane.
scary. Yeah, no, I
Thanks,
mean,
Dad.
if I think about when I was 23, yeah, I should
Oh my
not have
God.
been trusted.
I remember
with a kid.
being 23 and thinking like, oh my God, like, thank you, parents. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a gift, man. That's amazing. Well, this is great. I mean, I could talk to you forever, but I want to wrap it up here. Is there anything we haven't said? Anything else that's on your mind? Anything else we should get out there?
I don't think so. I feel like we covered so much. It's been like an awesome conversation. Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
Fantastic. Hey, we did it. A+.
Yay.
Thank you again for doing this. I'm glad we finally connected for it. I really enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time.
Oh, I did. No, this is a great conversation. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Bye.